Listen, everybody.
Yeah, we know you.
I want you to know this is my first time at 5 C's.
That's okay.
I've known Trudy for what, 40? Trudy was a piano teacher of my son. I love you so much.
Thank you, honey.
It's fabulous to be here. And look at this crowd.
I know.
It's amazing. So I've never been here. I'm from the Upper West Side. I'm a migrant to the Lower East Side. Sorry. And I want to know how many people, who I'm talking to, how many people in this room would feel comfortable saying, Free Palestine?
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine! Yes, thank you. Okay. And if you identify as a Zionist, I apologize, but you have to just be quiet.
They won't be here.
You won't be coming. So, listen, this is Martin Luther King Day. I'm very honored to be here on Martin Luther King Day because Martin Luther King understood the relationship between settler colonialism and racism and segregation. He understood the relationship between endless wars and pouring our tax money into weaponry and violence. And he understood, he was not quite there yet, but he would have been with us for sure in the movement to free Palestine. I have no question about it. Everything he stood for was on our side. So I am really honored to be here. I'm also thinking the urgency of now. That was King's expression, right?
Yeah.
And I really read, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry. John. Kids will die. Kids, at least a dozen, have died in the occupied territories on the West Bank and East Jerusalem, since even the beginning of this year. What is that? 2 weeks? 1 week? So I'm saying the urgency of now. I'm going to start with now, because I'm sure you guys you're savvy, you keep up with the news. You know that there was an election in Israel 2 months ago. Yeah. And you know that they put in power the most fascist, racist government in Israeli history, and maybe in this planet, maybe. It's horrible. They have introduced legislation that is leading to the complete annexation of the West Bank and the demolition of, demolition. They've already demolished homes. They've already expelled. They have held the people of Masafar Yatta hostage. 1,000 people who are at risk any minute of being kicked out of their homes. And while there was a little bit of resistance in the Israeli judiciary, they have also introduced legislation to cut the wings even of this feeble judiciary so they cannot oppose legislation by this very fiercely right-wing government. Now I say this now, this is the now. It's horrifying, but the now comes out of the then, right? Yeah. History is a process. It's not a series of events. And the process goes way, way back for decades and decades. I, shared Trudy's experience. We thought, oh, Israel, the great liberator of the Jewish people. No. I mean, I learned very young, actually, that Israel was not what it pretended to be. I went to Israel when I was 16 years old. My story is in the book. And I watched, and it was the civil rights movement. I'm really old. And I was learning about racism, and I was learning about the civil rights movement. I was 16 in 1959 when I went to Israel. And I thought, oh, it would be a wonderful place, and I might want to live there. And then I observed racism. I didn't even know the word. But I observed racism of white Ashkenazi Jews against black Jews from Africa.
That's right. Yeah.
We couldn't even see Palestinians. They wouldn't even let us near them. But I observed that racism, and I said, wait a minute. This isn't what I was taught. This is bullshit. I mean, I really realized that there was something wrong, and I came back, and it started me on a lifetime of solidarity with the Palestinian people. My great mentor in college was a great Palestinian intellectual, Ibrahim Abulahud. My students, Rabab Abdul Hadi, Suhair Hamad, Riham Balguti, Palestinian fabulous feminists who taught me so much. So, for me, the story of Zionism is the story of a tremendous lie. And Zionism is a settler colonial movement designed from the beginning, and it's in the book. I wrote the history of our resistance to Zionism, and I learned a lot of things in writing that history and doing that research. I learned that this plan to take over the Palestinian land and not just occupy, but exert sovereignty over it. I'm a political theorist, and the term sovereignty means a lot to me. It means you dominate everything. Daily life, homes, water, agriculture, you know, education, what people think and feel, what they are allowed to think and feel. So I learned that that plan of takeover was going on in the 1940s. This was even before the Holocaust, and during and after, this was a plan of takeover. And it carries on, and we talk about the ongoing Nakba. The Nakba refers to 1948, 748, but the Nakba never ended, because the takeover of people's lands and lives and domination of Palestinians goes on, and it gets worse. And it only ceases for seconds and will end because of the persistence and the absolute determination and courage of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian movement. And I hope to thank a lot of us who are their allies and their partners in this struggle for our lifetime. So I hope you join me.